Our third day in the Pacific Northwest easily became one of the most difficult travel days that my fiancée Emily and I have ever experienced. We started the morning by waking up in Forks, Washington, as we did the morning before. Our first stop of the day was going to be the Hoh Rainforest. When we originally tried to visit the rainforest, it was entirely too crowded, so we decided to go back first thing in the morning. This was a great choice, as there were no crowds first thing in the morning, and we had the trail entirely to ourselves. When we first got there, we thought it was going to be really cool to experience rain in a rainforest. However, later in this day, we would soon regret this, as it rained for the next 2 days straight. If you plan on visiting the Hoh Rainforest, make sure that you arrive early so you can avoid some of the crowds. The parking lot here is pretty small and the trails get very crowded, so plan accordingly. We just did the short 1 mile loop, and these were some of the photos that we were able to take. The next venture of the day would be to drive the Pacific Coast. We drove all the way down to Astoria and then over through Portland to the Hood River. This was easily one of the hardest drives of my life. It was 7 hours and it poured and was foggy the entire time. We were supposed to see spots along the way such as Cannon Beach, Astoria, and Cape Disappointment. We did stop at all these places but quickly got back into the car as we were getting soaked immediately once we got out. Here are a few photos that we took of these spots. Once we were finished visiting these spots, we headed to our final destination of the night, which was Government Camp, Oregon. The goal for sunrise this morning was to go to one of the most picturesque spots in the state of Oregon, named Trillium Lake. When we woke up this morning, we realized that we were more than likely not going to be able to see the lake in the mountain because of the extremely thick fog that we drove through last night was still persisting into this morning. We drove the short 5-minute drive to the lake either way, and as soon as we got there, we realized that we were correct and we were not going to be able to see the mountain. We made our way up the Mount Hood Highway and were luckily able to catch a glimpse of Mount Hood and with a rainbow above it. These turned out to be some of my favorite photos of the entire trip. After this, the weather cleared and we made our way up the Columbia River Gorge, making many stops along the way, the main of those being the famous Multnomah Falls. Again, if you plan on visiting the spot, make sure you arrive early as the parking lot is extremely small. After about a half hour of waiting, we were finally able to get a parking spot and were able to take some of these photos. The next stop of the trip would be Mount Rainier National Park.